Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that when you see this, that you already had a great, slow starting morning. That you're just kind of capping off some time with the Lord, and we're in Nehemiah one more time. And I really feel like this is important because I think that a lot of times the reason why we struggle to maintain our walk with the Lord is because we never clean house. We never determine to run off those influences that tend to draw us away from the Lord. Many people find themselves in a vicious cycle of doing the same thing over and over again, wanting to be walking close to the Lord, but the same things that draw them away are always a part of their lives because they just haven't come to grips with the idea that maybe this should be gone. And so what I want you to see here is that Nehemiah, he has to leave town. You'll kind of hear it in his words here. He leaves town for a little while and then comes back into town and finds out that something that should have never happened is happening, and it's because he hadn't run off a couple of particular individuals. And so let me just read it to you, and you'll see what I mean. And we can apply this to our daily lives because we don't close the gates. We don't move the things out of our lives that distract us from being in close relationship with God. And because we don't, we find that our worship and our faithfulness is even hindered by these things. And I don't really want to name them off because there's people I know very personally that spend a majority of their time chasing these other things or distracted by these other things, and they give them more time and attention, way more time and attention than they ever give the Lord. And so watch what happens here. It says, and before this, Eliashib, the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of God, was allied to Tobiah. Remember Tobiah, as we go back, and Tobiah was one of the guys that was always stirring up trouble. And he had prepared for him a great chamber where aforetime they had laid the meat offerings, the frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn and the new wine and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites and the singers and the porters and the offerings of the priests. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king of Babylon came I unto the king, and after certain days obtained I leave of the king. So Nehemiah, as promised, went back to the king, and then had to stay there for a period of time, and then was on his way back, and he finds this happening in the house, that they had displaced all the storage houses for the distribution to those that did the work of the house of God. We can equate that to all the tithes and offerings are being kept away from God's house because we're too busy chasing these other things and these things that keep us distracted, so the storehouses of God are not full. We can make that equation there for us currently. But what's interesting is that he comes to the place and realizes that people they're no longer there. There's no supplies, and so the worship of the house of God is affected. Look at verse number 7. It says, and I came to Jerusalem and understood of the evil of Eliashib did for Tobiah in preparing him a chamber in the courts of the house of God, and it grieved me sore. Therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber. Then I commanded that they cleanse the chamber, and thither brought I again the vessels of the house of God and the meat offerings and the frankincense. So we see him throwing everything of Tobiah's out in the street. Basically, he says, this is not going to be this way. He gets them in. He says, let's just throw all this junk in the trash, because that's what distractions are. That's what giving something God's place does. It distracts us from worship, and God says, just throw it out of your life. Well, we go to verse number 28 in the same chapter, and I want you to notice something there. Verse number 28, he says this, he says, and one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite. Therefore, I chased him from me. Did you catch that? So we got to chase the things out of our lives. We've got to run them off. We got to get tired of things just being the same old, same old. I say I'm committed, but all these things distract me. I say I'm going to walk with God, but I still keep all the things and the people in my life that keep me from it or cause me to turn my attention from it. And we just have to get to that place where we say, okay, God is supreme in my life, and everything that battles against that supremacy in my life has got to go. I'm going to throw it out on the street. I'm going to run it off. I've got to be rid of these things. And unfortunately, we love the things so much that for many of you, the extracurriculars, the things that we do with our kids, the things that we prioritize more than the Lord, they're just a part of our lives, and we are unwilling to allow them to be out of our lives so that we can actually devote our lives to the service of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And it's time to throw it out on the street. It's time to run it off. And I hope that this will help you do that today. Today is the day to clean house. And I hope that you will, because I know that when you do, you are going to experience the things that God has for you. Have a great day.